The morning sun glistened across the towering iron gates of the Marlo estate, casting a divine shimmer on the golden carvings. But within those gates, what unfolded was far from heavenly. A woman, draped in an emerald gown, stood with a sneer twisting her lips as she tipped a bucket of murky water over an elderly lady and a young child. The dirty liquid splashed down, soaking their clothes and staining the ground, while the terrified little girl clung desperately to her grandmother. The sharp creak of the gates swinging open was nearly drowned out by the purr of a sleek black car rolling in. From it emerged Alexander Marlo, the billionaire hair admired by many but truly known by few. He froze, his gaze locked on the heartless act before him. In that instant, his world shifted forever. If you believe that kindness and second chances bring light into our world, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness, where stories of humanity find their voice. Alexander had always been a man of order. His days consumed by schedules, meetings, and business negotiations. But that morning, he had chosen to surprise his mother, Eleanor, and his 7-year-old daughter, Sophie. After endless weeks of travel, he had longed for laughter in the garden, a quiet day with family, maybe even time to plan his upcoming wedding with his fiancée, Isabella. He never expected that his return home would uncover the darkest side of the woman he thought he loved. Eleanor, a graceful woman in her 60s, had raised Alexander alone after his father's passing. With dignity and quiet strength, she shaped him into the man he became. Sophie, his precious little girl, had lost her mother at only 2 years old. From that day forward, Eleanor had stepped into both roles, showering Sophie with boundless love. To Alexander, his mother and daughter weren't just family. They were his anchor, his very heart. Isabella, on the other hand, belonged to a world of luxury and ambition. She was beautiful, eloquent, and impeccably styled, seemingly the perfect partner for a man of Alexander's stature. To outsiders, she looked like the flawless future Mrs. Marlo, but behind her polished exterior lurked a coldness that Eleanor had quietly observed yet never voiced. Not wanting to plant doubt in her son's heart, she endured Isabella's condescending remarks and subtle disrespect, but never expected her cruelty would one day reach Sophie. That morning, as Eleanor and Sophie played near the grand fountain, Sophie's laughter filled the courtyard. She was gathering wildflowers when Isabella swept in, her gown gleaming but her face twisted in irritation. She scolded Eleanor for letting Sophie run freely, claiming it spoiled the estate's image. Eleanor, ever patient, apologized softly and began guiding Sophie away. But Isabella's contempt burned too deep. She seized a bucket of filthy water meant for cleaning and, without hesitation, poured it over them. The splash was merciless. Sophie shrieked, clutching her grandmother in fear, while Eleanor, soaked and trembling, tried to shield the child. Isabella smirked, her eyes flashing with twisted satisfaction. "This is what you deserve," she whispered, confident no one important would ever witness her cruelty. But Alexander had seen everything. His breath caught, fists clenched, heart breaking in disbelief. For a moment, he was paralyzed, unable to reconcile the woman he loved with the cruelty he had just witnessed. He had envisioned Isabella as Sophie's future mother figure. In a single instant, that vision shattered. He stepped forward slowly, his footsteps echoing across the driveway. Isabella turned, startled, the color draining from her face as she saw him. His silence spoke louder than rage. His eyes burned with betrayal and fury, leaving Isabella trembling. She scrambled to invent excuses, blaming Eleanor, accusing Sophie of misbehaving. But Alexander saw through every lie. Without a word, he dropped to his knees beside his mother and daughter, his expensive suit soaking as he embraced them. Sophie sobbed into his chest, whispering her fear, while Eleanor tried to downplay her suffering with a trembling smile. But Alexander knew. This wasn't about spilled water. It was about dignity, love, and respect, values Isabella had trampled. The engagement ended that very day. Alexander didn't argue or shout. He simply looked Isabella in the eyes and told her to leave. Her protests and tears meant nothing. Beneath the golden gates and wide sky, Alexander realized no wealth, beauty, or social status could ever outweigh the simple truth of kindness. word of the broken engagement spread like wildfire across society, feeding gossip columns and whispers. Yet Alexander paid no mind. His days became devoted to Eleanor and Sophie. He organized little surprises for Sophie. Picnics in the garden, bedtime stories, laughter he had missed. He shared tea with his mother, cherishing her wisdom and their quiet moments together. Slowly, the bitter memory of that morning faded, replaced by the warmth of family love. What Alexander learned was that true love isn't measured by charm or perfection, but by how someone treats those who can offer them nothing. Isabella had failed this test. Eleanor and Sophie reminded him that life's greatest treasures are family bonds, compassion, and the courage to walk away from toxicity. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Stories of Kindness. Every click helps spread stories that highlight the beauty of humanity. And before we close this chapter, I have a request. Share in the comments what kindness means to you. Because in the end, Alexander's journey is not just about betrayal. It's about realizing that true wealth is not found in diamonds or gold, but in the love that binds a family together, even when the world threatens to tear it apart. Sometimes, it takes witnessing cruelty to truly understand the priceless gift of kindness.